Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Innovation Guelph's workshop space. I am Mickey Campo. I'm a program manager here at IG, and I'm happy to be hosting this call today with all of you. Closed captioning, just so you know, is available should you choose to use it. You can push the link just down below your photo if you like. I'd like to briefly introduce Innovation Guelph. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I just want to let you know a little bit about us. Innovation Guelph is one of 17 regional innovation centers in Ontario. And while we're physically located in Guelph, we do serve the entire region of Southern Ontario. And we've recently been awarded a national program. So what that means is that we have clients in Nova Scotia all the way to BC and all throughout Ontario. So we're really proud of the work that we do. We do a lot of mentorship programming with a variety of different clients throughout multiple different stages of business growth. And you can read more about us if you're interested on innovationguelph.ca. I'm not going to talk more about us today because I know you're here for the workshop. And the workshop today is thinking of hiring a co-op student your business could benefit. And it is Tuesday, February 2nd. It's actually Groundhog Day. And Wyerton Willie told us this morning that we have an early spring ahead of us. So we're all quite excited over that. Today's panel discussion by Cooperative Education is brought to you by Invest in Guelph. Invest in Guelph aims to position and promote Guelph as an ideal place to do business. From the moment you begin considering Guelph, they provide you with a list of resources, offer an array of confidential business investment services, information and data resources, including expedited and streamlined development approval processes to reduce your investment risk and save you valuable time. Christine Chapman, Manager of Economic Development, and her team make it easy to do business in Guelph. They were hoping to make it here today, but unfortunately we're unable to. So very grateful for their support. But back to today's workshop. Doris, it is your turn now to share your slides and talk. And then we will move through the three different organizations and then open up the floor for questions.
Thank you. As mentioned, I am Doris Aiken. I'm the co-op curriculum lead for Upper Grand District School Board, and my colleague Tracy is also online with us today and will be available during the Q&A. So just want to get started, tell you a little bit about the high school co-op program. We represent the high schools in Wellington and Dufferin counties and the city of Guelph. And so we do believe co-op is a fully beneficial program, especially for those employers who take their time to mentor and support our students, and also for our students who are learning to work and making those really important connections and working. So often we're asked, what can a high school student do for you? Well, according to a student that just finished their placement at the Guelph Flight Center, the sky is literally the limit. So they do many things, often starting with entry-level tasks and taking on increasingly more responsibility as the employer gets to know them and they prove themselves. We are looking for jobs in all sectors, and the sectors are listed there. And also we represent the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. So just some of the things our students get involved in. You know, I have been out to dental placements where they're sterilizing equipment, preparing for surgery, recording the depth of your gums. Also, I've had students at the OVC often. That was where I first fainted, was watching a student restrain an animal for an x-ray. You know, I had a student that wanted to work at McDonald's, and that's all they wanted to do. And so, yep, we got them a job at McDonald's. A few years later, I met the student at a recruitment fair where the student was well compensated for traveling around the province of Ontario recruiting. So we've watched them learn and seen them participate at the Guelph Fire Department, participate in trades. You know, we had students producing the Guelph Today show at the Rogers Studio, and now they do it in Kitchener. You know, we've watched them learn how to weld, remove a tire, bind beautiful strips of wood into cutting boards. There's so much they can do. Just a few more pictures and moving on. So who are our students? Well, they are generally in grade 11 or 12, except for summer co-op. Usually those are our science students, and they're doing their co-op between grade 10 and 11. They must be 14 years or older to participate. To start off, they spend some time in class preparing to be out with you. They are fully versed in COVID-19 protocols. I think all, even from kindergarten right to 12, they know about that. And our students can work with you on site, they can work remotely, or they can do a combination of both with you. Just a note, because our students aren't paid, WSIB is paid by the Ministry of Education. It does require time, but we truly believe that that time you put in interviewing them, preparing them, and assigning the tasks and duties and conferencing with the teacher really is made back through the student accomplishments and through that bond that you develop with them. Our students do not replace employees. What they do is they work with employees to support their work and learn from them. What are the timelines we're looking for? Well, we're starting quad 3 tomorrow, and students will be looking for placements and looking for interviews starting next week, with placements starting about mid-February. Quad 4 starts April 22nd, and our students in quad 3 and 4 are available about 5 to 6 hours a day. They are not going back and forth between the school and the placement. Once they're at placement, they're there. Summer co-op kids, they're out for July. Interviews start in May and June, and they are full days. And I did note the regular school year, because we're all hoping amongst hope that next year we are back to a regular year. And our contact information will be on the slides. So thank you, and we'll talk to you in the Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you. Wonderful. So we're going to hear from Jeff next.
Great, thanks, Mickey. So yeah, hi everybody. My name is Jeff Hochman. I work in the co-op department at Conestoga College. My role is employer relations consultant. So really, one of my main responsibilities at the college is to work with employers to really develop co-op opportunities for our students. So we, on an annual basis, we have 4,500 co-op students in 64 plus co-op programs, and that covers really a broad range of disciplines. In terms of where the students do their co-op work terms, obviously a large percentage is in the local region, Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, Guelph. We do have a number of our students that go to other areas of Ontario and Canada as well, and we do have some students that pursue their co-op opportunities internationally as well. So when I go out and meet with employers and communicate what co-op is, really what I'm communicating is what we're looking for is we're looking for paid career-related work experiences that are relevant to the student's program of study. So Doris mentioned earlier a little bit about high schools being unpaid. So post-secondary education co-ops are paid, and therefore the insurance is actually covered by the employer as well, and the student is actually basically signed up as an employee. In addition to that, we look for employers, supervisors that are really open to providing training, supervision, feedback to enhance the student's learning. And in a way, we look for a mentor, so somebody that's going to mentor the student. The requirements are 12 weeks, 420 hours. So that is the minimum requirement in order to hire a co-op student. I included a note below about funding. I'm not going to get into that today, but just wanted to let everybody know that there is significant amounts of funding that is available. The funding is actually for Canadian registered businesses, small, medium, and large size organizations, and nonprofits are included in that as well. The information that I think Diana or Mickey is going to email afterwards will cover a lot of that as well. So when we look at the program areas that we offer, as mentioned earlier, we offer 64 co-op programs, really cover a broad range of disciplines, really allows our students to work in a broad range of industries as well. So whether that's a small, medium, or large size organization. So it's not uncommon for multiple students, co-op students from the college, to be working for the same employer. So we may have an IT student that's maybe working IT support. at the same organization where we may have a business student that's in finance, or maybe human resources, or maybe maybe marketing, and that all may be working for an engineering firm or trades and apprenticeships. At the same time, we may have a student working for a startup organization that maybe there is only one employee, and that student is capable of working alongside the president or the owner of that organization. In terms of the makeup of our students, it's very diverse. So we may see a number of students that are coming right out of high school that have experienced the co-op in high school. We also see a lot of our students that are pursuing a second career, maybe a third career. So those students are bringing unique experiences that they've experienced previously going to school, and they're bringing them to their co-op work terms as well. So these are the 5 bullet points really explain kind of the co-op benefits. Now, I'm not going to go into the 5, explain the 5 benefits. What I'm going to do is just is maybe to explain to you a situation and a recent example of the impact of one of our co-op students had in their co-op work term recently. So the example I'm going to give is a business student was hired by a small retail organization in early 2020, and the role was social media manager. The goal of the position was basically for the student to design and implement a social media strategy, really with a goal of driving customers to their retail location. This particular organization, they relied on international visitors. So they relied on customers crossing the border. So basically what happened was, I think we all know what happened as of mid-March, and then the following months with the border closure, and the border closure is still going on, but the organization really needed to pivot in terms of what they did as an organization. And the decision was made is they needed to pivot to online sales. So basically, the students' contribution was they were hired to design and develop a social media strategy, and they had already started that process. Basically, what they had to do from there is the student also had to pivot in terms of the social media strategy is really now about driving online sales as opposed to visits to a retail location. So basically what happened was the student really refocused the strategy, created brand new online campaigns, and basically what resulted of that was a quadrupling of the visits to the social media channels, and ultimately resulted in the business allowing the business successfully transitioning to a retail location to 100% online sales. So really, what stood out with that example is the quote that the employer provided in the online evaluation for the student. The quote was, "To be clear, without this student's help with their social media, we would not have been able to stay in business and transition from a retail outlet to a total online store." So when we look at the first benefit really that's listed is new ideas and expertise. So in this case, basically this organization hired a co-op student with an expertise that this organization didn't have. And that expertise basically allowed that organization to successfully transition into an online business where they are continuing to thrive as well right now. So it kind of gives you a little bit of an example in terms of, some of the contributions that the students can make. And that covers, small, medium, large size organizations, and really covers a lot of different industries as well. So in terms of how to hire a student, all employers do register on our My Career online recruitment portal. The college, we do approve jobs that are posted to the portal, applications that are forwarded to the employer, they're reviewed, and then candidates are interviewed. So interviews can be held on campus, they can be held off campus, and obviously over the last year, the majority of interviews are happening remotely right now as well. But one of the important things to remember is as the students are paid, there is no commitment to hire. So there does need to be an appropriate fit when you are interviewing students. Co-op department is essentially an extension of your HR department, or in some cases for small organizations, we can be your co-op HR department. So the support that we provide is ranging from posting jobs, forwarding applications, coordinating interviews, assisting with job offers, and then also offering on-the-job support. Co-op students are available year-round. So we have start dates in January, we have start dates in May, we have start dates in September. So we accept job postings 4 months in advance of the start date, and we'll continue to accept those postings until one, all students have secured, or they can no longer meet the 12 weeks and 420 hours required in their 4-month co-op term. So really it's a continuous recruitment cycle that goes on year-round. Great, thank you.
That's great, thank you. In the end, so we're going to move on to Claudia next.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claudia Milad, and I'm the manager of cooperative education at the University of Guelph. I'm actually fairly new in my role. I actually started in October of 2020. So starting a new job in the middle of a pandemic has been quite an interesting experience, to say the very least. But I do have a lot of knowledge with regards to co-op. I've come from the college sector. So I'm very excited to be sharing what I know about co-op at the University of Guelph with you all today. So at the university, it's fairly similar to what Jeff mentioned with regards to the number of hours, but we have a little bit of differences. So we have over 42 programs from various academic disciplines such as arts, business, computing, sciences, as well as engineering. Co-op at the University of Guelph is vastly growing. We have many new programs on the horizon. Some programs just launched as recently as fall 2020, with others coming in fall 2021. To name a few, we have a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice and Public Policy, a Bachelor of Commerce in Sport and Event Management, and a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Geomatics. So we have a lot of new programs on the horizon. Similar to Jeff's speech there, our students are available year-round for 4, 8, or 12-month work terms. And our recruitment cycle is very similar to the college sector, always one academic semester in advance. So right now we are recruiting for the summer semester, which students would be on work term from May until the end of August. Minimum 12 weeks, 420 hours. We do have some exceptions now with regards to COVID and flexibility measures. So they're program specific. So if more details are required there, you can just let me know for sure. Contact information is on the slide there. And something important to note about our students for co-op is that they've completed almost half of their undergraduate degree prior to their first work term. So they're already just beginning their second year when they're ready for their co-op. And we have a robust form of experiential learning at the University of Guelph. We do have 12 co-op coordinators whose main responsibility is to act as an account manager for employer contacts, supporting students and supporting employers on work term. We do have employer developers whose main responsibility is to look for new opportunities for our students. And then we have Co-op 1100 instructors. So Co-op 1100 is a mandatory course that students are required to take the semester before the work term that helps them get ready for their job search, prepare their resume, get them ready for those great interviews they're going to be on. And we do have support of the employment services team who is able to assist employers with posting jobs, interview scheduling, and of course, sharing those job offers with those students. There's no cost for you as an employer to post with us. Or even to hire with us. So that's a great benefit to working with our program. And we do support work from home on site due to the COVID pandemic. Again, whichever one works best for you and your business. We do have over 15,000 contacts in our system. So we do have a lot of employer partners that we work with. And just to give you a bit of context, the University of Guelph is the 4th largest university co-op program in all of Ontario. I'm also proud to mention that next year, the University of Guelph will be celebrating 40 years of cooperative education. So that's kind of a big deal. And we're also accredited by CWIL. So CWIL stands for the Cooperative Education and Work Integrated Learning. And essentially, it's kind of a hub of employers, community partners working together. We offer students a certification for completing their co-op work term. Like Jeff had mentioned, we do have some funding available with SWIP funding, but again, too much details to get into right now in my short speech. So if you want more information about that, you can definitely check it in the info to be shared later. And then the main thing I want to touch on is what are the requirements from an employer perspective. So as previously mentioned, just like Jeff, because the students are paid, insurance is provided by the employer. So workplace safety insurance is provided by the employer. As a co-op employer, you would need to support students with coming up with learning objectives. So setting goals with the student within the first 5 weeks of employment, of course, participating in a work term visit. So essentially, as the student is working with you as an employer, the co-op coordinator will be in touch with you to schedule a virtual appointment. Meetings are less than 30 minutes, and we kind of discuss student responsibilities and their performance to date. Are things going well, things going not well? We want to intervene and be that support mechanism for the student and the employer. And then, of course, because it's an academic institution, there are some work term reports that a student needs to complete. Again, depending on the program, the employer may be required to sign off on the report. So just reviewing, making sure it's an accurate depiction of the business or what the student's been doing. And then lastly, the work performance evaluation. Students receive an email with an embedded link, and you complete the evaluation, let the student know how well they're doing. And of course, this goes on the student's official transcript. So one other thing I wanted to share, and of course I have lost my screen here. One other thing I want to share in the chat, just so you have a good understanding of that. I will share it once I can find my screen. But anyway, it's just information about salary rates and how much our employers pay, as well as some more bullet points about employer responsibilities and what our employers are expected to do. I just want to be mindful of the time here. So I will end my speech here, and I will open up the floor back to our host.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's so, well, it's lovely to hear about everything, but you know what's really refreshing is the fact that you guys all stuck to your 6 minutes. So you're all very timely. We have half an hour of Q&A. So if you'd like, turn on your cameras again, start texting or chatting your questions in the chat box. Jordan's going to pick up on them. I think there's a couple in there already, but feel free to continue adding more and more questions. If you have specific questions about the pricing, those things that they didn't put in their presentation, then now's the time to ask them, and maybe we can touch on them a little bit, probably not too in depth on some of the structures, but I think we could get an overall feel for some of those things. So by all means, let's, Jordan, I'm going to pass it over to you to ask the first couple.
Okay, to get started with questions. So our first one came from Cheryl. If you're outside the Guelph district, how should we go about connecting with our district school board for high school co-ops? So what would be a suggestion for her there, Doris and Tracy?
So if anyone wants to connect with other school boards in the surrounding area, they can email me and I can put them in touch with the lead in that school board. They can also Google there's the school board and look for the cooperative education program, and the lead's name might be in there, but it might just be quicker to contact me.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great. Okay, next question from Brian. Do we need insurance? So Claudia just touched on insurance from the university side, but if maybe we could recap insurance from Upper Grand District School Board, Conestoga College, and then again, a quick recap on insurance from University of Guelph. So I'll hand it off to either Doris or Tracy again.
So with insurance, so as our students aren't paid, the Ministry of Education actually pays the WSIB because your students are considered employees under the Occupational Health and Safety Act. The board also carries liability insurance for those accidental oops, like we just recently paid to repair one of those garage doors that go up and down. If you want the students to drive one of your vehicles or to drive a customer vehicle, though, it is your insurance that needs to cover vehicles that are being driven by the students.
Awesome, thank you. And Jeff.
Yeah. So insurance, so WSIB is something that is required for the majority of our programs. So when a co-op student is hired, they are essentially added to your payroll. So they're covered under WSIB, any deductions that happen. Now, there are some organizations that do not need to provide WSIB, and generally that's a Schedule II employer. So if you are an organization that does not have to provide WSIB, then obviously that's not relevant to you. but there does have to be some sort of liability coverage so that the student is covered while they are working for you.
Awesome. And Claudia.
Yeah, so very similar to Jeff, because our students are paid by the employer would cover the WSIB insurance. And again, if there's exemptions, there would need to be some kind of liability insurance from the employer's perspective.
Awesome. And Marta's wondering, are the pay rates already determined, so for college and university co-ops?
I can answer that. Essentially, it's covered, it's based on industry. So depending on what this going rate for the industry is, and just to give employers a rough idea, I did include the co-op salary survey from the University of Guelph's website so that employers on the call can have a rough idea with how much the rate of pay should be.
Yeah, and much like Claudia mentioned as well, it's the same at the college as well. So it's generally in terms of, we'll share maybe previous work term wages on our end, as long as, but we don't necessarily set a wage that needs to be paid, as long as it obviously meets the local provincial minimum wage requirements.
Awesome, thank you. Do you have students that are located in Mississauga? And then we could open that up to other areas as well. I'm thinking that some of the hours would need to be in person for events prep work. And I guess how COVID influences that as well.
I'll jump in there, Jordan. So yeah, so we most certainly have students in the Mississauga and the GTA area. We are in fact seeing more and more students that are commuting from that area, just as the college grows. So in regards to, like, I think the question was more in regards to co-op preparatory courses, I believe. So there are co-op preparatory courses that students do need to take prior to going out on their co-op work term. Generally, those are done in combination of in-class and online. Obviously, right now, those classes are done online.
So I can answer as well. Yeah, we have students from all across the GTA, especially now with COVID, everyone is kind of doing the online learning. But some of our students are actually so committed to their co-op work term that they actually even move to the location where the employer is located, especially if they're going to be there for even 8 months. So instead of commuting back and forth from Guelph to Mississauga, they may just rent a place in that area so they're not commuting too long. So we do have students kind of all over available looking for opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you. Is there funding available through Magnet SWP program?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. Yeah, most certainly there is funding. There's a significant amount of funding. For those that aren't familiar, the SWPP is called the Student Work Placement Program. And it's funding that is available in the form of a wage subsidy through the federal government, Employment and Social Development Canada. And the wage subsidy as of right now is up to $7,500, or 75% of the wages that are paid to the student. And I believe that that deadline does end, I think it's April 30th. The funding still exists, but it actually, I think the amount goes to a maximum of 5,000 or 50%, or 7,000 and 70%. And just, I guess, to reiterate on that, so Magnet, so the Student Work Placement Program, there's about 12 delivery partners that coordinate the funding. Magnet is just one of the partners, and Magnet is, so each delivery partner kind of covers a specific industry. So whether it's aviation, the environment, biotech, engineering, and what Magnet generally covers is Magnet covers a lot of the industries and organizations that are not covered by the majority of the other delivery partners. So it's pretty wide open in terms of the type of organizations that it covers, and it does cover nonprofit organizations as well. That will be in the information that's going to be forwarded. That's one of the funding programs that will be included.
I've also just included a link in the chat for everyone for the SWIP specific to Magnet. So it's in the chat.
Thanks, Claudia.
That's great, thank you. Is there a way for an employer to apply for more than one co-op institution? So just clarifying that there are separate forms that an employer needs to fill out for college versus university and high school, of course, as well.
So I can jump in here. Each institution has their own kind of system for registering. So if you're interested in either the Upper Grand District School Board, Conestoga College, or the University of Guelph, you would need to contact those institutions directly by filling out whatever online forms or paperwork required. So yeah, it would just be reaching out to that specific institution that you're interested in if you want to sign up with that organization.
And I'll just add to the back of that, if you go to the Upper Grand District School Board website and Google co-op, right on the front page of our co-op website, there is a form for employers to indicate their interest. That comes direct to me, and then I'll get right back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Jordan, before you jump into the next question, I actually kind of have a spin-off question from that one. I know that we talked about it previously, but are there benefits in getting co-op students at the same time from multiple or just one or two or three different locations? And are there benefits of working like a high school student with a university or college student, or vice versa? Is it beneficial to have more than one at one time?
You go, Doris.
Oh, well, I would just like to say, I think that would be an incredible opportunity for, the college or university students to actually act as mentors for the high school students and help, show them what's involved in what they're learning, so that the students can see going forward what their future might look like in doing co-op at university or college. And Tracy may want to jump in as well.
Well, I know Jeff did. Jeff, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in too and just kind of reiterate what Doris was saying as well. But when I do my visits, in a lot of cases, especially with medium or large size organizations, we'll talk to students, say, hey, how's your co-op going? And they'll tell us how the co-op's going. And it's quite common for them to say, yeah, I'm working with a college student from another institution, or I'm working with a university student, and this is what I'm learning from them, and this is what their program's about, and this is what my program's about. So, the basis behind co-op is kind of it's a hands-on learning experience. So it's not necessarily just learning from the employer; they're learning from their coworkers, or in some cases, fellow students as well. So no question, it's a valuable experience.
Wonderful. Thank you. Can they hire students as contractor or freelancers if an employer has business insurance?
I can touch on this one. Unfortunately not, just because for academic credit, the student would definitely need like a supervisor, a mentor, something like that. But then also in terms of the insurance and in terms of the remuneration, we often run into problems and issues there. So from the university standpoint, unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to pursue a contractor or freelancer opportunity for a student's work term.
So just in terms of at Conestoga, for the majority of our program areas, it's exactly what Claudia was mentioning. We do have an entrepreneurship center at the college. And so when students are, they can become involved with the entrepreneurial projects that are going on. And so under extenuating circumstances, a student could potentially use their involvement with the entrepreneurial center towards a co-op work term, but that's more of an extenuating circumstance. And it's kind of it's a program set up on its own as well.
Awesome, thank you. Regarding insurance, is it necessary to have insurance even if students are working from home? Doris?
So with our students who are working remotely, they are covered again by the Ministry of Education and as well by the board's liability insurance when they're working at home. So you're good to go, hire a co-op.
And from the university side, yeah, the insurance would still be required because the student would be an employee of your organization, whether they're working remotely or they're working in the office. So the insurance would still be required.
That's the exact same on the college side as well.
Excellent, thank you. Does anyone know of co-op students that work in supply chain management? Is that something that's common?
Yeah, it's very common. We actually have a 3-year business administration advanced diploma specifically in supply chain. So we it's an area that's in demand, and we most certainly have a number of our students that pursue that.
We have a degree in management, so the Bachelor of Commerce in Management, which is very broad. So if a student is specifically interested in supply chain management, they would let their co-op coordinator know, and we'd look for opportunities in that realm, but nothing specific in terms of supply chain management, a degree at the university.
What about live-in co-op? For example, vet students who need a place. Do employers need to provide that? And how can employers help support students who need to relocate for a co-op placement?
I think it really depends on what I find is it depends on industry. So we have culinary and hospitality programs. So we'll have students that will travel all over Canada. They may work on the East Coast, they may work on the West Coast, and for the most part, resorts will offer some sort of staff accommodations, but it's all communicated at the time of the actual posting. It's not a requirement for an employer to actually to provide some sort of staff accommodations. Now, some employers may assist with that process, but it's not necessarily a requirement.
Claudia's nodding her head, so I'm thinking it's along the same lines, probably, right?
Yeah, completely 100% along the same lines. And again, it's not a requirement for employers, but if they wanted to do that, it would definitely have to be communicated on the job posting for sure.
Awesome, thank you. We have another question about kind of field-specific co-ops. So what about co-ops in the arts field? And then students who can help pivot businesses to be able to be taught online. So this one's for art specifically. So I'm sure there's opportunity there if you can speak to that.
I can speak to this. Well, the programs that I was mentioning when I mentioned arts is mainly liberal arts. So it wouldn't be specific to that kind of art, if that makes any sense. I don't know if maybe Jeff or Doris have anything specific for that, but I don't think we do at the university.
No, in terms of what we offer, like we offer a Bachelor of Design program, but in terms of more art-based programs, no, we do not offer those programs either.
So we do have, within our high schools, specialized high skills majors, and where students kind of concentrate and focus some of their learning in specific areas. And one of our big specialist high skills majors is culture. And so we do have students that are very interested in the arts. We also have students that are interested in helping businesses pivot to online. Just this morning, I was talking to a couple of prospective employers where they're interested in having students come on and help them with their social media. But in terms of the arts, we've had students with the Guelph Arts Museum, we've had students with artists around the area. So very much our students are interested in exploring and also helping their employers promote their work in those areas.
I think,
okay, yeah, go
hi,
ahead,
yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel. I'm Claudia's colleague from the University of Guelph. And one thing to keep in mind too with Guelph is a lot of students do have dual interests. So in seeing that, I immediately think, you know, there might be some psychology students in co-op that might also have an interest in art who may be looking for the opportunity to get some teaching experience because the University of Guelph doesn't have a teaching program. So there are lots of students that are looking for that experience in other ways. So I'd also kind of invite us to think, you know, sometimes outside the box a little bit in terms of what kind of majors or programs may work really well with particular types of positions. Because again, I can think of, you know, we ended up hiring at the university, you know, 80 students last semester from all different programs to help us move all of our content for all of the different programs online. And we had students doing that in our department that were engineering students, and they were amazing at it because they were students themselves. So I think that there is a lot of potential, even with kind of programs that you wouldn't anticipate having students that have the skills to be able to support that. Because I can already think of a few students who have a background in visual art, even though that's not what they're studying at school. So I definitely think there is some potential for that.
And just jumping on what Daniel said as well. So thanks Daniel. So we actually do offer a 4-year Bachelor of Early Learning program. And so if what you're referring to is kind of program development, curriculum design, curriculum evaluation, that actually is what that program is. So yeah, like in terms of kind of you know, the actual teaching of the program, we have a lot of students from that program area that do go on to Teachers College as well. So if that's kind of the areas, then there could potentially be a fit for that as well.
Well, and this could be a really great example of an opportunity where you bring in a co-op student from college or university with the background in the evaluation and assessment, and then you bring in a high school student with the visual art background, and you put the two of them together to help create this really great package, and they're both learning from each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Great, thank you. I'm pretty sure I'm all caught up on questions. If I'm not, please copy and paste and put it to the bottom, but I'm pretty sure I am. But we do have some time left, and we obviously have a wealth of knowledge here. So if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to post them.
Or Tracy, I saw that you were trying to say something a moment ago as well. So feel free to jump in if there's some questions, guys, or comments you haven't been able to express yet that you think people should know. Oh, Tracy, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I had double muted myself just to be extra sure that nobody could hear my dog barking in the background. Daniel and Jeff covered it so wonderfully. Daniel and I have chatted about that outside of the box thinking, and when that person asked about art business and pivoting, I was starting to think about some of our, Doris mentioned specialist high skills major. I was thinking about some of our business students as well. Some of the primary learning they do is about innovation and about entrepreneurship and about that quick thinking that we know entrepreneurs have to be able to do to reconsider business approaches. And so we have some really strong business leadership students that might be really great candidates for that type of placement as well.
And just as something to add to that, I mean, if you do have any ideas like that and you're just not sure where to start, we're all really great people to start with. If you reach out to any of us and say, hey, I've got this really cool idea, or I just don't know where to get started, we're staying in contact with each other. So, and we're all excited about new opportunities for our students. So chances are, if you don't know where to begin, we can at least be the beginning of a brainstorm with you to try and create some connections and maybe, you know, forge some new relationships and new partnerships that could be surprising in terms of the benefits to both your business as well as to our student learning.
Love that. I love that, where you can be the beginning of their brainstorm, right? Helping them through it. And I don't know if any of you on the call have been on any of, like any clients on the call who've been on any of my previous like networking sessions and whatever else that we run. One of the biggest things I really push is this collaboration kind of opportunity for people. You have to get out there and talk to people and work together. And so I really love the fact that you guys are talking about ways of involving high school students and university or college students together to make things work for employers. I think there's so many opportunities out there that if people just kind of get out of their own head once in a while and ask some questions, they can come up with some pretty exciting answers and solutions. And I think it can really change the way that they do their work. So I think that's really cool. We have another question. I'll let Jordan do.
If an employer wanted to hire a social media manager and marketer, for example, do they need to be a well-versed mentor to be able to support them, or can they just set them free to do work? And if not, if they don't have those skills, how can the university, college, and high school kind of help support employers be that mentor for students they're hiring?
Yeah, so ultimately, do they need to be an expert? No, not at all. What ultimately they need to do is they need to provide some sort of supervision, be able to evaluate the student. The example I gave in my presentation was kind of that refers to this case exactly, as organization was hiring a social media manager because they did not have that skill set. So no, by no means, and that's one of the reasons essentially why you could potentially be hiring a co-op student to bring a new set of skills and new area of expertise. At the same time, you know, I think all of us will do this as well. We do a lot of coaching. So we coach our students. In a lot of cases, we coach our employers that don't have experience hiring a co-op student. So we're there to really support both students and employers through the entire process.
I guess I'll just speak to that too. So our high school students have a variety of different experiences that they've learned through high school. And if they're applying for a particular job, they likely have an interest in it and some background in it. And it's amazing. Sometimes our students actually have more background than some of their supervisors, and they're able to support them because of that. So I think it comes down to the interview and being clear on what you're looking for. I'll give you an example. One of our employers, and it is in the presentation last quad, was looking for a solution. And since I'm not environmental and I don't have a green thumb, they were trying to get something to grow, and they couldn't figure out how to put a motor, how to make the lights run or whatever. And the student came up with a motor from an aquarium because they knew the motor was going to be underwater. And the student said, well, why not use an aquarium motor and help? And, they do need to be supervised, but you'd be amazed sometimes at what solutions they can come up with and how they can support you.
I just want to jump in and add something to that as well. If you just think of the definition of cooperative education, it's applying what you've learned in the classroom in a real work setting. So essentially, it's maybe the student applying what they learned about social media marketing or how to apply concepts actually in the real world. So I think you don't need to be an expert, just have a general understanding of what students learn in the classroom, and you can let them kind of go free with that. But it's just applying what you've learned in the classroom in a real world setting. So I think that's beneficial to everyone, both the student and to the employer.
And then just to carry on with something that Doris said as well, talking about the interview, communicating with the student. So that's what we encourage both our employers and our students to do, is just make sure that all the details are communicated in the interview process. That's part of, as they're paid work terms, fit is extremely important. So it's really important for that student to know when they're going into that role that they might not have that supervisor that's able to basically guide them through the process, that they maybe have to have a little bit more initiative on their own end, because that could make the difference in terms of whether it is a good fit for the student or not. So that's where the communication in terms of what the opportunity is for the student is key to the whole process.
Excellent. That's great. I know that I've learned. Hopefully everybody on the call has learned things. I kind of wanted since we don't have any more questions right now, I just want to circle back to the fact that Jordan's going to put in a feedback link. And if you guys can click on that link and fill it out, if there's anyone here today that you want to connect directly with, either for more information or to request a co-op student or just to talk about in general what that would look like for you, that's where you can request that information, and we will make sure that we connect you by the end of the week, and you can continue those conversations kind of offline. There's going to be lots of information in the email we send you back. There we have a wonderful chart which explains the similarities and differences between high school, college, and university co-op programming. We also have some excellent resources there's an organization of the County of Wellington called Ride Well, which actually provides transportation for students who don't have it otherwise. As long as they're starting in the county and going to Guelph for a round, and either starting or ending in the County of Wellington, there are opportunities for transportation. We'll send you some information on that. And then, of course, all of the presentations and information that you guys have heard today. So you're going to get a whole bunch of information, copies of the slides, all of that stuff, if you want to review anything. But I think one of the most important things is fill out that feedback form if you have questions, and we will connect you directly so you can continue these conversations. So we hope that you found today really valuable. We hope that you are inspired to collaborate with students. Let them help you, just as we all look towards getting mentors and people in our lives that can teach us from experience. We should also look younger than us or more inexperienced than us in the real world, because a lot of them have experience that none of us could ever dream of having. So I think it's a smart decision to make, at least to explore. So I welcome you to do that. If you have any information, or any questions for Jordan or me or Diana today, feel free to email us afterwards. But I want to just say thank you for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful, sunny, kind of chilly, but hey, spring's coming kind of day. Then that's great. So thank you for joining us.